Hey guys, welcome back to the Readers. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. My older sister, let's call her Maya, and our mom have always had a complicated relationship for as long as I can remember. Maya has always been direct and questioned everything. Our mom was a traditional Catholic who believed family came before anything else. Some background. Mom was the second oldest of 8 children who immigrated from Vietnam to the U.S. She grew up in extreme poverty in a rural village and knew firsthand how challenging it was to support a large family. Being the first in her family to finish college, she always saw education as the pathway out of poverty. She helped pay for 5 of her siblings' college education, though only 3 actually graduated and found jobs, and funded several of her nieces' and nephews' schooling back in Vietnam. Maya spent more time with our extended family than I did. She was born in Vietnam, while I was born in the U.S. We're 6 years apart. As she grew older, she became increasingly vocal about disagreeing with Mom's financial support of certain family members. Maya would often say, "Mom, they're taking advantage of you. You pinch pennies here, but send thousands there." During her senior year of high school in 2018, Maya had a massive argument with Mom and moved out. They didn't speak for 4 years, though Dad and I maintained contact with Maya. During that time, she worked full-time while putting herself through college without any parental support. At my high school graduation in 2022, I made sure to invite Maya. She came, and they finally reconciled, though things remained somewhat tense. In early 2023, Mom passed away. I didn't know it then, but Maya had quietly taken over supporting Mom's youngest sister, Lynn, covering her living expenses and maintaining a college fund for Lynn's daughter. Maya also handled all the funeral arrangements and estate matters since Dad was too devastated to function. Last Christmas, Maya and I decided to visit Vietnam. One of our stops was Lynn's house. I had no idea I was about to witness a complete disaster over dinner. After some casual conversation about the weather and local gossip, the topic of Mom came up. Here's how it went down. Lynn: "It's such a tragedy about your mother. We all miss her dearly." Maya: "Yes, we do." Lynn: "Maya, why did you abandon her back then? What kind of daughter does that? So disrespectful. And look at you now, still single, too focused on your career. That's not what a proper Vietnamese woman should be." Maya remained silent, her face unreadable. Lynn turned to me. "Don't follow your sister's example. You need to be more traditional. Do you have a boyfriend? You don't want to end up alone like Maya. It's not natural." Before I could respond, Maya spoke up, her voice steady. Maya: "Speaking of choices, Lynn, why did you drop out when Mom was paying for your education? Was it because of that married businessman who promised you the world? How did that work out?" I sat back, knowing Maya's legendary takedowns were about to begin. Lynn jumped up, face red. "How dare you come into my house and speak to me this way?" Maya: "Interesting you say that. This house exists because Mom worked 60-hour weeks for years. The food on this table? That's from the monthly transfers I've been making since Mom died." Lynn: "Get out. I don't need your money or your attitude. I can take care of myself." Maya stood up calmly. "Just so we're clear, you're saying you don't need or want anything from me?" Lynn: "I don't need a thing from you. Get out and don't come back." Maya looked at me. "Well, you heard her. Let's go." In the car, Maya was surprisingly relaxed. "Did you hear that? She doesn't need anything from me," Maya said, emphasizing the word anything. "Oh boy," I replied, finally understanding what was coming. Back at our hotel, Maya canceled all the automatic payments to Lynn's account. We spent the rest of our vacation exploring the city and visiting other relatives who actually appreciated us. Just yesterday, our cousin Kim called to tell me Lynn was panicking about her finances. I immediately called Maya. Maya: "Already? There should have been enough money for at least 6 months. Me: "Did you tell her that?" Maya: "Basic math isn't my responsibility." Me: "Will she lose the house?" Maya: "No, it's fully paid off. As long as she can handle the utilities, she'll have a roof." Me: "What about her daughter's college fund?" Maya: "That stays untouched. The kid shouldn't suffer for her mom's attitude. But once it's gone, it's gone." I'm curious to see how this plays out, though I doubt Maya loses any sleep over it. As she told me later, sometimes people need to learn the hard way that actions have consequences. The next one is an entitled people's story. I never thought I'd be writing this, but I need to share what happened with my father trying to literally steal my home from under me. This whole situation has been a nightmare, but I'm finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Some background. I'm 27F, and I bought my condo 2 years ago after saving religiously since I started working at 18. I lived with roommates in a cramped apartment, worked overtime, and put aside every penny I could. My parents divorced when I was 16, and my dad remarried a year later to Sarah, who has 2 kids from her previous marriage. The condo is a modest 2-bedroom unit in a nice area of the city. Nothing fancy, but it's mine, and I'm proud of it. I did everything by the book, saved for the down payment, got pre-approved for a mortgage, and handled all the paperwork properly. My dad wasn't involved in any way with the purchase. The trouble started 3 months ago when my dad and Sarah came over for dinner. Everything seemed normal at first, but then Dad started talking about how Sarah's son, Jake, 19, was starting college nearby and needed a place to stay. "You know, honey," my dad said, pushing his plate aside, "Jake could really use this condo. You could rent somewhere else. It would help the family out." I nearly choked on my drink. "Dad, this is my home. I'm not moving out so Jake can live here." "But we're family," Sarah chimed in. "And family helps each other. Jake's father isn't supporting him at all." I stood my ground. "I'm sorry about Jake's situation, but this is my home. I bought it with my own money." My dad's face changed. "Actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. You know, as your father, I have certain rights. I helped raise you, put food on the table. This condo should really be in my name." I thought he was joking at first, but the serious look on his face told me otherwise. "Dad, that's not how property ownership works. I bought this place myself. I have all the documentation." "We'll see about that," he muttered, and they left shortly after. I didn't think much of it at the time. I figured he was just being dramatic. Boy, was I wrong. A week later, I came home from work to find my front door slightly ajar. My heart nearly stopped. I called the police immediately and waited outside until they arrived. When we went in, my place had been ransacked, specifically my home office. My filing cabinet was open, papers everywhere, and most importantly, my folder containing all my property documentation was missing. The police took my statement and dusted for prints. The officer asked if I had any idea who might have done this. I didn't want to believe it, but I had to tell them about my dad's recent behavior. "My father was here last week demanding the condo should be his. He said something about having rights to it." The officer's expression turned serious. "Do you have security cameras in the building?" Thankfully, we did. The building management pulled the footage, and there he was, my own father, using the spare key I'd given him for emergencies, walking into my unit in the middle of the day. The footage clearly showed him leaving with a manila folder. I felt sick to my stomach. What was he thinking? What was he planning to do with those documents? I didn't have to wonder long. The next day, I received an email from him with a photo of my property deed attached. The message read, "I'm taking this to court. As your father, I have rights to this property. You can either sign it over to me willingly, or we'll let a judge decide. Don't forget who raised you." I broke down crying, not from sadness, but from pure rage and disbelief. This was not the father I knew, or thought I knew. I immediately called my mom, who was horrified but not entirely surprised. "Your father's always had this entitled streak," she said. "When we divorced, he tried claiming my inheritance from my parents should be his because we were married when I received it. I contacted a real estate lawyer that same day. She was appalled by the situation and assured me my father had absolutely no legal claim to my property. However," she said, "what he's done is serious. Breaking and entering, theft of legal documents, these are criminal offenses." I filed a police report and pressed charges. I also contacted the county recorder's office to alert them about the situation and get certified copies of all my documentation. The clerk was incredibly helpful and flagged my property records to prevent any fraudulent changes. The next day, I received a series of angry texts from Sarah. "How dare you call the police on your own father? We're family. Jake needs this place for college. You're being selfish." I blocked her number. Then my dad's sister called. "Your father's been arrested. How could you do this to him? He gave you everything growing up." I remained calm. "Aunt Linda, he broke into my home and stole my property documents because he thinks he's entitled to my condo. What was I supposed to do?" "But he's your father. You could have talked it out. I tried. He wouldn't listen. He committed a crime, and now he has to face the consequences." The police investigation moved quickly, thanks to the clear security footage and my dad's email basically confessing to the theft. He was charged with breaking and entering and theft. The district attorney was particularly interested in the case because of the potential attempted property fraud angle. My father's defense was that as my parent, he had a right to enter my property and take documents he believed he had a claim to. The judge wasn't impressed. During the court proceedings, my dad's true colors really showed. He tried to claim that he had partially funded my condo purchase by giving me birthday money over the years. His lawyer looked physically pained presenting this argument. "Your Honor," his lawyer said, clearly uncomfortable, Mr. Thompson believes that his contributions to his daughter's upbringing, including monetary gifts, entitle him to an interest in the property. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes, peered over her glasses. Mr. Thompson, are you suggesting that standard parental obligations and birthday gifts constitute a property investment? My father actually said yes. Your Honor, I gave her life. Everything she has is because of me. The judge's response was scathing. Mr. Thompson, giving birth to or raising a child does not entitle you to their adult property. If that were the case, we'd have chaos in our property law system. I had brought all my financial records showing every penny that went into buying the condo came from my own earnings and savings. My lawyer presented bank statements, pay stubs, and the complete paper trail of the purchase. What really sealed the deal was when Sarah, trying to help my dad, testified about their real motivation. Jake needs this condo for college. He's family too, and family should share. My ex-husband won't help, and we can't afford student housing. The judge cut her off. Mrs. Thompson, this proceeding is about breaking and entering and theft of documents. Your stepson's housing needs are irrelevant and do not justify criminal behavior. My father was found guilty. He got 2 years probation, mandatory counseling, and had to pay a $5,000 fine. The judge also issued a restraining order preventing him from coming within 500 feet of my condo, but the drama wasn't over. After the verdict, my dad's side of the family launched a social media campaign against me. My cousins posted long rants about how I was a heartless daughter who sent her own father to jail. He never actually went to jail, but facts didn't matter to them. My aunt created a family group chat specifically to shame me. In our family, we take care of each other. Your father needed help providing for his stepson, and you turned your back on family. I finally had enough and posted my own statement on social media. Since some people are spreading misinformation, here are the facts. I bought my condo with my own money that I saved while working full-time since I was 18. My father broke into my home and stole my property documents because he wanted to force me out so his stepson could live here. He committed a crime and faced legal consequences. End of story. Any family members who support criminal behavior can kindly remove themselves from my life. The support I received was overwhelming. Friends, colleagues, and even distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years reached out to offer support. My mom's side of the family rallied around me, with my maternal grandmother calling me to say how proud she was that I stood up for myself. My boss, who had been understanding throughout the legal proceedings, called me into his office. I was worried at first, but he just wanted to tell me he was giving me a raise. You've shown incredible professionalism dealing with this personal crisis, he said. That's exactly the kind of strength we value here. The raise was a nice silver lining to this whole mess. Sarah's ex-husband, Jake's father, even contacted me after hearing about the situation. Turns out he wasn't a deadbeat dad as they'd claimed. He had a college fund for Jake, but Sarah and my dad wanted to use it for other things while getting free housing from me. I'm sorry you got caught up in their schemes, he said. They tried the same kind of manipulation with me for years. That's why our divorce was so messy. He helped Jake get set up in proper student housing, and apparently Jake was mortified about the whole situation once he learned the truth. He sent me an email apologizing for his mom and my dad's behavior. The whole experience taught me a lot about setting boundaries and standing up for myself. I installed a new security system in my condo, changed all the locks, and made it clear to the building management that no one was to be given access to my unit without my explicit permission. I also started therapy to deal with the emotional fallout of having my own father try to steal my home. My therapist helped me understand that my father's behavior wasn't about me. It was about his own sense of entitlement and control. Sometimes parents have trouble accepting that their children are independent adults, she explained. Your father's actions suggest he never made that transition. The most unexpected outcome was the close friendship I developed with my next-door neighbor, Maria. She had witnessed some of the drama and started inviting me over for coffee regularly. Girl, she said one evening, I've lived here for 20 years, and I've never seen anything like this. But you handled it like a boss. 6 months have passed since the court case. My dad occasionally tries to send messages through family members about how I've ruined his life and destroyed the family, but I've learned to ignore the guilt trips. My condo is still mine, more than ever my sanctuary, and I've never been more certain about my right to protect what's mine. I recently finished redecorating my home office, the room that had been ransacked. It's now my favorite space, with a beautiful desk, organized files, in a locked cabinet, and a sign on the wall that reads, "This is my house, and in this house, we respect boundaries." Sarah and my dad eventually moved to another state, supposedly for a fresh start. but really because they couldn't handle the social fallout in our community. Jake is doing well in college, living in proper student housing, and we occasionally exchange friendly messages. The whole experience changed my relationship with money and property. I've become even more protective of my assets, created a solid estate plan, specifically excluding my father, and started teaching financial literacy workshops at the local community center. Something good had to come from all this, right? Last week, I hosted a housewarming party, a reclaiming my space celebration, as my friends called it. As I looked around at the people who truly supported me through this ordeal, I felt at peace with everything that happened. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. My mom summed it up best. You didn't just protect your property. You protected your right to be an independent adult. Never let anyone make you feel guilty for that. And she's right. This condo isn't just my home anymore. It's a symbol of my independence and my refusal to let anyone, even family, take advantage of me. That's worth more than any property value. The next one is a malicious compliances story. Part 1, the issue begins. I worked at a major tourist attraction during this time, and we got thousands of customers every day. Part of our attraction was outside, and we had expanded part of the outside to accommodate new parts for the attraction. In order to blend with the theme of the new section, a brand new brick pavement was installed in the area. Upper management had at the time a tendency to not think things 100% through, and this was no different. The big thing was that it was decided not to install an anti-slip surface on the brick pavement. Now we were in the middle of summer, and it was a particularly dry summer, but nonetheless, when it isn't dry, we got a lot of rain and a lot of snow and frost. We need that anti-slip surface. We told upper management this, and as per usual, fell on deaf ears. Winter comes far too soon, and with it all the rain that was meant for summer and to make up for a dry autumn. And the winter of 2022 was bad for the UK. Temperatures fell to single digits, and then negative in the Celsius. With the cold came a permanent frost over the brick pavement and the beginning of malicious compliance. Part 2. The compliance. The first slips and falls heralded us to the idea. At the time, the company required us to write in paper accident and incident reports about everything if something bad happened. Now, anyone who's worked in tourist attractions, we've all seen kids fall from being too excited, and we often do a polite to see if blood/gore/missing limbs are present, and if all is good, we just ignore it. No one likes paperwork, not to mention due to upper management's distaste for us, we had to take the long way to the offices where the paper was to fill it in, and get someone to cover us while we filled it in. Upper management hated us being in their special offices and not out with the paying customers. It is worth mentioning in their defense, our lower managers and middle managers were on our side because even they knew what upper management was doing was utter nonsense. So they saw what we were doing and agreed with it. What happened was every single slip that occurred outside on the impromptu ice rink that was the brick pavement we would report. That's about 15, 20 minutes of us in the warmth, not freezing our butts off, writing about how someone had slipped in the exact same manner as the last 10 people, all in plain view of upper management. I like to believe they began working from home more due to us being there in their office. I learned from one of our lower managers that is a dear friend that the stack of reports handed to upper management was measurable in inches. I do not regret saying I was one of the top 3 contributors to that pile. Part 3, the bare minimum response. Upper management finally began to make efforts to fix the situation. They decided to just cordon off the vast majority of the brick pavement with temporary, ugly barriers and put down anti-slip mats to make a path for the parts of the attraction that they wanted visitors to walk in. They thought they had won. We knew better. Anyone who has worked with tourists knows that tourists are a special breed of stupid. Told not to touch the very important items, they will touch. Told to keep their kids near and not let them wander off. I think the record for no lost kids was 4 hours. And so these barriers that everyone is required to respect, well, clearly it doesn't apply to me. Each time we told people not to go underneath these barriers, they looked like deer caught in the headlights. And the barriers were just low enough that kids would duck under and run straight onto the ice and onto their butts. Even more, accident and incident reports rocked up as a result, and all upper management would do is tell us low, barely above minimum wage earners to do a better job policing this part of the attraction. Part 4. Wake-up call. School kids. Oh, how we loathed schools, mostly teenager ones. Little kids no more than 5, 10. Oh, they were delightful. We were happy with them. The main reason was because the teachers, who are still responsible for the kids no matter what, actually followed our guidelines. So naturally, we liked the little ones and were genuinely more concerned for them than normal. We all then had our moment of fear when it was reported that a 7-year-old boy had slipped and fallen on the ice, no doubt having been playing with classmates and unintentionally not seeing where he was going. That didn't save his 2 front teeth chipping and a call for our on-site first aid team to come and help with the blood. Luckily, he seemed alright beside the fact the tooth fairy was going to be paying double that night. But for us, lower and middle management, it was the final straw. I wish I had taken a photo of that accident and incident report for posterity, the number of people co-signing it. Part 5. The Fallout. Nobody wants a lawsuit, and that kid's parents had grounds to do so like nobody's business. The fact a child had been injured from negligence did not look good on upper management's part, and it wasn't as if they could pretend nothing had happened. Everyone had been telling them about the risk, and when it got to the big wigs, I can only imagine what was said. Miraculously, and within 2 days of the kid's teeth, they put an anti-slip surface on the brick pavement, at what was probably more of a cost than had they just done so in the summer. The barriers were removed, and the number of paper accident and incident reports dramatically decreased. They finally also got around to installing tablet devices with which we could fill in reports without needing to drop position. Our lives were made easier, they got an earful, and that kid probably has a fun story for when he's older and has kids himself. I'd like to say upper management learned their lesson and took our words on board for future endeavors, but that is like expecting the dog to not poop on the carpet after the first time you shove their nose into it. I no longer work there for other reasons, and many of the people who joined in the act of malicious compliance have since gone elsewhere. But for nearly 3 glorious months, you had never seen a department work together like ours in that way before or since. TLDR. Management refused to properly prepare a pavement for winter, and didn't like us telling them to do so. Cue winter and 3 months of regular accident and incident reports in front of them, plus a kid losing his 2 front teeth later, and miraculously, they found the money to treat the pavement. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.